My wife's secret messages and late-night calls were exposed by an unexpected device in our home. And the shocking evidence of her cheating made me realize that no matter how strong a marriage seems, betrayal can shatter it in the blink of an eye. I need to get this out before I lose my mind completely. 3 months ago I had everything. A wife who loved me, 2 kids who looked at me like I hung the moon, a house in the suburbs, respect in my community. Today I'm typing this from a studio apartment that smells like bleach and regret, and my own children won't return my calls. It started with a notification sound I'd never heard before. Sarah had been working late again. Marketing director at some tech startup, always stressed, always on her phone. I was in the living room helping Emma with her math homework when this weird chime came from the kitchen. Not her usual text tone, something different. What was that sound? Emma asked, looking from her fractions. Probably just mom's work stuff, sweetheart. But it wasn't Sarah's phone. It was coming from the smart speaker we'd gotten for Christmas. The one that was supposed to make our lives easier, connect all our devices, keep us organized as a family. The sound happened again during dinner, then twice more while we were watching a movie. Sarah kept glancing toward the kitchen, this nervous energy radiating off her like heat. When I asked about it she just shrugged. Probably some app notification. I'll check it later. Later never came. The next morning I was making coffee for work when the chime went off again. This time, curiosity got the better of me. I walked over to the speaker and said the wake word. What was that last notification? The AI's voice was clinical matter, a fact message from Marcus, can't wait to see tonight. Same place as always, my coffee mug at the floor. Sarah was already at work, the kids were getting ready for school upstairs. And my entire world just shifted on its axis because our smart home device had been sensing messages from an app I'd never seen before. Some encrypted messaging thing Sarah must have downloaded. I should have confronted her immediately, should have demanded answers, should have fought for my marriage like a man who deserved the he'd built. Instead, I sat in my car in the driveway for 20 minutes shaking. Marcus. I knew exactly who Marcus was. Sarah's old college boyfriend. The one she dated for 3 years before we met. The one she claimed was just a friend. When he started showing at her work event 6 months ago. He's married too, honey. It's not weird. We're all adults, right? By lunch I'd made the worst decision of my instead of going home to wait for Sarah. Instead of preparing for the conversation that could save or end my marriage, I drove to the bar where my buddy Jake works. Look like man, Jake said sliding across the bar. Sarah's cheating on me. The words felt foreign in my mouth. Like speaking a language I'd never learned. Jake's face went through about 5 different expressions before settling on anger. Sure, I told him about the messages. About Marcus. About the late nights and weird phone calls and how Sarah had been different for months. Distant, distracted, know what need. Jake said after listening to the whole story. Need to remember what it feels like to be wanted. That's when she walked in. Melissa, Jake's cousin visiting from out of state. Blonde hair, green eyes, and a smile that made me forget about everything else for exactly 30 seconds. Jake made the introductions, told her I was going through a rough patch. Melissa bought me a drink. Then another. Then she suggested we go somewhere quieter to talk. I'm married. I told her as we sat in hotel bar an hour later. So am I. She said, twisting her wedding ring. Doesn't mean we can't be friends. Friends. That's what I told when she put her hand on my arm. Friends don't feel electricity when someone touches them. Friends don't lean closer when someone whispers in their ear. Friends don't follow someone to their hotel room at 3 in the afternoon. But I did all of those things. I told I deserved this. That Sarah had already broken our vows. That this was just evening the score. That it didn't count because my heart wasn't in it. Every single justification was a lie. The worst part wasn't the physical betrayal. It was how good it felt to be the center of someone's attention again. To feel desired. To pretend for 2 hours that I was someone different. Someone who didn't have mounting credit card debt, and a receding hairline and kids who needed help with homework every night. When it was over, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed and felt something inside me break. Not my heart, something deeper. The part of me that used to be able to look at in the mirror without flinching. Melissa was in the shower. I could hear her humming, happy. Like this was just another Tuesday afternoon for her. My phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, home early today. Making favorite dinner. Love. I in the hotel room trash can. The drive home was 23 minutes of pure. Every red light gave me more time to think about what I'd just done. Every mile took me closer to a house where my wife was probably setting the table for 3. Where my kids would want to tell me about their day. Where I'd have to pretend I was still the man they thought I was. I pulled into the driveway behind Sarah's car and sat there for 10 minutes, trying to figure out how to walk into my own home. The front door opened. Emma came running out, backpack bouncing, face lit with 8-year-old joy. Daddy, I got an A on my math test. She hugged my legs, and I felt like the worst person who'd ever lived. That's amazing, sweetheart. I managed, my voice cracking. Tommy appeared in the doorway trying to look cool at 12 but still excited to see me. Dad, can we play catch after dinner? Coach says I need to work on my throwing. Of course, buddy. Then Sarah stepped out, wiping her hands on a dish towel, smiling the way she used to when we first got married. Before the stress and the bills and the routine of married wore us down. Hey stranger, how was my day? I just destroyed our family and she was asking about my day. Fine, I said, because what else could I say? Smells good in there. Roast, favorite. She stood on her tiptoes to me and I let her, even though I could still smell Melissa's perfume on my shirt. Even though I'd just proven I was exactly the kind of man I'd always sworn I'd never become. Dinner was. Sarah talked about her day at work, made no mention of Marcus or secret messages or late night meetings. Either she was the world's best actress or I'd completely misunderstood what I'd heard. Emma chattered about her friends. Tommy complained about his English teacher. Normal family stuff. The kind of evening I'd taken for granted for years. And all I could think about was how I'd just blown it all for 2 hours with a stranger in a hotel room. After dinner I did play catch with Tommy. Watched Emma practice her spelling words. Helped Sarah load the dishwasher like we'd done 1,000 times before. Okay, she asked, bumping my shoulder with hers. Seemed distracted, just tired. Want to watch something on Netflix after the kids are in bed? Sure. But when the kids were finally asleep and we were alone on the couch, I couldn't focus on the screen. Every time Sarah laughed at something, every time she reached for my hand, I felt like I was going to be sick. At 11:30 her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Work emergency. I need to make a quick call. She went upstairs to our bedroom and closed the door. I could hear her voice muffled through the ceiling, but not the words. 20 minutes later she came back down. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, just some client drama. Nothing I can't handle. She curled next to me on the couch, and we finished watching the movie. Normal, comfortable. Like we'd been married for 15 years and still chose each other every day. Except I'd already chosen someone else. That night, lying in bed next to my wife while she slept, I made a decision that would haunt me for the rest of my. Instead of confessing what I'd done, instead of coming clean about my suspicions and my betrayal, I decided to keep digging. If Sarah was cheating, I needed proof. Real proof. Not just mysterious notifications and late phone calls. If she wasn't, then I just made the biggest mistake of my for nothing, and I could never ever let her find out. Either way I was already lost. The smart speaker chimed again at 2:47 a.m. Sarah stirred but didn't wake. I lay there in the dark, listening to my own heartbeat, and realized that in less than 12 hours I'd become exactly the kind of man I used to judge. The kind who breaks his family and calls it justified. The kind who destroys everything good in his and blames everyone but himself. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The real damage was still to come. I thought I was being smart. Thought I could play detective and keep my own secret buried. Turns out when you're already drowning in lies, adding more water doesn't help. The smart speaker became my obsession. Every morning after Sarah left for work, I'd interrogate that thing like it held the secrets of the universe. Which in a way it did. Show me all recent notifications. Playback message history. What devices are connected to this account? That last question broke everything wide open. Sarah had connected some app called Secure Chat to our home system. The kind of app people use when they don't want their regular messages showing on their phone. The kind that deletes everything after 24 hours. But our smart speaker was logging notification summaries before they disappeared. 3 weeks of digging gave me a timeline that made me want to drive my car into a tree. Marcus, dinner was amazing last night. Marcus, can't stop thinking about yesterday. Marcus, my wife suspects something. We need to be more careful. Marcus, hotel room 247. Same time as always. Same time as always. This wasn't some recent mistake. This was a routine, a relationship. While I'd been helping Emma with homework and fixing Tommy's bike chain, my wife had been building a whole second. The worst message came on a Thursday morning. Marcus, I love too. Soon we can stop hiding. I love too. She'd said it back to him. I called in sick to work and spent the entire day rage cleaning the house. Scrubbed the kitchen until my hands were raw. Organized closets that didn't need organizing. Anything to keep my hands busy so they wouldn't shake. When Sarah came home that evening I almost broke. Almost it all on the table and demanded answers. But then Emma ran to her excited about some school project, and I watched my wife's face light with genuine love and pride. How to reconcile that? How to square the woman who cheats with hotel room rendezvous with the mother who helps her daughter with art projects until midnight? Don't. Just add it to the pile of things eating alive. That weekend Melissa texted me. In town again. Want to grab coffee? I should have blocked her number. Should have deleted the message. Should have remembered that I was supposed to be the good guy trying to save his marriage. Instead I met her at a cafe downtown while Sarah took the kids to their soccer games. Looked terrible, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. Thanks, really what I needed to hear. I'm serious. What's wrong? And because I'm apparently incapable of making good decisions, I told her everything. About the messages, about Marcus, about how Sarah had been living a double for months. Melissa listened without judgment, which should have been my first warning sign. Normal people judge when tell them married to a cheater and also cheating. They don't nod sympathetically and order another lat. Deserve better, she said when I finished talking. Do I though? I mean I slept with 3 weeks ago. I'm not exactly innocent here. That's different. We're vulnerable. Sarah's been planning this for months. The way she said Sarah's name like it tasted bitter, made something twist in my stomach. But not in a good way. In a way that should have sent me running. What are saying? I'm saying maybe should stop trying to save something that's already broken. She reached across the table and took my hand. Her wedding ring caught the light. I've been thinking about. She whispered. About that afternoon. This is the part where any decent person would have pulled their hand away. Would have said they needed to work on their marriage. Would have walked out of that cave and driven straight to couples therapy. I squeezed her fingers back. My hotel. 1 hour, she said, and like the absolute garbage human I'd become I nodded. The second time was worse than the first. Not because of what we did but because of how easy it was. How natural it felt to lie to Sarah about where I'd been. How quickly I was adapting to being someone I didn't recognize. When I got home, Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. The kids were in the living room arguing over what to watch on TV. Normal family chaos. How were the games? I asked, kissing Sarah's cheek like I hadn't just spent 2 hours betraying her in the worst possible way. Emma scored a goal. Tommy's team won 3-1. They wanted to celebrate with pizza but I told them we'd do homemade instead. She was happy. Genuinely happy. Either she was a sociopath or the messages I'd been seeing weren't telling the whole story. That's great, bye. Oh, and Marcus called while we're out. My turn to ice water. Marcus, from work. He wanted to confirm some client meeting next week. I told him to just email me the details. She said it so casually, so normally, like Marcus was just some colleague instead of the man she'd been telling she loved. That night, after the kids were in bed, I couldn't stand it anymore. Sarah, can we talk? She looked from her laptop. Of course, what's our happy? I mean with us. With our marriage, the question seemed to catch her off guard. She closed her laptop and really looked at me for the first time in weeks. What brought this on? I feel like we both going through the motions. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said the words that shattered what was left of my world. I've been feeling that too. Not denial, not reassurance. Confirmation. She continued. I love our family, but sometimes I wonder if we got married too young. If we missed out on figuring out who we really are. Do you ever think about other people? The question hung in the air like smoke. Sarah looked down at her hands. Sometimes, she whispered. This was it. The moment where I could have come clean. Where I could have said yes, I think about other people, and I've acted on it, and I'm drowning in guilt, and maybe we need help. Instead I lied. No, never, or all I've ever wanted. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Or sweet, but don't have to say that. I know, think do. What did that even mean? 2 days later I found out. I was working late when Sarah called. Background noise suggested she was at a restaurant. Hey honey, client dinner ran long, don't wait. Okay, love bot, love too. But here's the thing about smart speakers that sync everything, they don't just catch incoming messages, they catch outgoing ones too. At 11:47 p.m. our home system logged this notification, message sent to Marcus, he bought it. On my way to now. He bought it. She'd been testing me. The whole conversation about being distant, about thinking of other people, about wondering if we got married too young. She'd been fishing to see if I suspected anything. And I'd failed the test spectacularly. I sat in my home office until 3 in the morning, staring at that message log, feeling something fundamental break inside me. Not my heart this time. My ability to pretend any of this was fixable. Sarah came home at 1:30 a.m. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her trying to be quiet as she came upstairs, heard her slip into our bed. When my alarm went off at 6, she was already in the shower humming some song I didn't recognize. Morning honey, she said when she came out, toweling her hair. Sorry it was so late last night. Marcus really knows how to talk business. He does. If she heard the edge in my voice, she didn't show it. That afternoon while Sarah was at work and the kids were at school, I did something I'll regret for the rest of my. I called Melissa. I can't do this anymore, I told her. Can't do what? Pretend. Any of it. My marriage is over, and I'm tired of acting like there's something to save. Come over, she said immediately. We'll figure this out together. Together, like we were a team. Like she was my partner instead of just another mistake in an endless series of mistakes. But I went anyway. This time, we didn't just sleep together. We talked about the future. About what it would be like when I left Sarah. About how Melissa was thinking of leaving her husband too. About fresh starts and second chances and all the lies people tell themselves when they're burning their lives to the ground. We could be good together, she said, tracing patterns on my chest. Really good. Well, adjust. Kids are resilient. Right, I thought about Emma's face when she showed me her math test. About Tommy asking if we could play catch. About how they still believe their dad was a good man. When are gonna tell her? Melissa asked. Soon. How soon? I don't know. It's complicated. It doesn't have to be. Pack a bag, tell her no about Marcus and leave. Clean break. Like 15 years of marriage and 2 kids and a mortgage were just things could walk away from. Like love and betrayal and family were just complications to be managed. But the thing is, when you're drowning, even bad advice sounds reasonable. Maybe you're right. I know I'm right. Deserve to be happy. Happy, when was the last time I'd felt actually happy? Not guilty or angry or confused, but genuinely content with my. I couldn't remember. That evening I came home determined to end it. All of it. The pretending, the investigating, the slow of living with someone who was living a lie. Sarah was in the kitchen making Emma's lunch for the next day. Such a normal domestic scene. The kind I'd taken for granted for years. Sarah, we need to talk. She looked from the sandwich she was making. Peanut butter and jelly, diagonally the way Emma liked it. Can it wait? I still need to help Tommy with his science project and Emma has a spelling test tomorrow. It's important. So is our daughter's education. The casual dismissal hit me like a. When had we stopped prioritizing each other? When had everything else become more important than us? Fine, after the kids are in bed. But after the kids were in bed, Sarah got another work call. That lasted until I fell asleep on the couch. The next morning, she was gone before I woke. Another early meeting, according to the note she left on the coffee maker. By the time I saw her again, my courage had evaporated. The moment had passed. The window had closed. And that's how it went for another week. Me building the nerve to confront her, only to lose it when faced with the reality of blowing our family. Her continuing her double like it was the most natural thing in the world. Until the morning everything fell apart. I was getting dressed for work when my phone rang. Unknown number. Who's this, Daniel? Who's this? This is Rebecca Martinez. I think, no, my husband. The name didn't register immediately. I'm sorry, I don't think Marcus Martinez. I believe he's been spending a lot of time with wife. The bottom fell out of my world. I found some interesting messages on his phone. She continued, her voice deadly calm. Messages about hotel rooms and secret meetings and being in love. I thought might want to know what wife has been to. This was it. The moment I'd been dreading and anticipating for weeks. Confirmation, proof. The end of any doubt about what Sarah had been doing. So why did I feel like I was going to throw? I think we should meet. Rebecca said. Don't. And because I'm apparently incapable of making any decision that doesn't make everything worse, I agreed. What I didn't know yet was that Rebecca Martinez had been doing her own investigating. And she'd found out a lot more than just her husband's affair. She'd found out about mine too. Rebecca Martinez turned out to be everything I wasn't: smart, prepared, and absolutely ruthless when it came to protecting what mattered to her. We met at a coffee shop downtown, the same one where I'd made my second terrible decision with Melissa. The irony wasn't lost on me, sitting in the exact booth where I'd chosen to destroy my marriage, now facing a woman who was about to finish the job. She was smaller than I'd imagined, maybe 5'4", with graying hair and the kind of quiet intensity that made one to confess sins before she even asked. "Thank for meeting me," she said, sliding a manila folder across the table. I opened it and felt what was left of my world collapse. Photos, dozens of them. Sarah and Marcus at restaurants I recognized. Sarah and Marcus walking into hotels. Sarah and Marcus kissing in parking lots. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the photos of me and Melissa, going into her hotel, coming out 2 hours later, getting into my car with guilt written all over my face. Interesting situation we have here, Rebecca said, her voice calm as lake water. Both our spouses are cheaters, both of us are victims. She paused, letting that sink in. Except one of us is also a cheater. My mouth went dry. How long have been watching me? 3 weeks. Ever since I found Marcus's phone and saw the messages, I hired a private investigator to follow him, and imagine my surprise when he also started documenting activities. She pulled out another photo, me kissing Melissa goodbye outside the hotel. My wedding ring doesn't know about this yet, Rebecca continued. But she's going to. What do want? Justice. For both of us. Rebecca had a plan. A brutal surgical plan that would everything to everyone simultaneously. Sarah would find out about Marcus's wife knowing. Marcus would find out about my affair. I would lose any moral high ground I thought I had. And our kids would lose everything. Can't do this, I said. There are children involved. There are children involved in my situation too. My daughter is 16. She still thinks her father is a hero. Then why destroy that? Because lies don't protect children. They just teach them that love is conditional and promises don't mean anything. She was right, and I hated her for it. What if I convinced Sarah to end it? What if we try counseling? Rebecca laughed, but there was no humor in it. To really think can fix this. I've been cheating on the woman or trying to save. I've been lying to her for months. I've been playing victim while victimizing someone else. She leaned forward. Don't get to be the hero of this story. Don't get to save marriage while keeping a fair secret. Don't get to have it both ways. So what happens now? Now go home. Tell wife everything. About Marcus, about Melissa, about pathetic attempt to play detective. Give her the choice to make her own decisions with all the facts. And if I don't, then I tell her. Tonight. Along with children, neighbors, boss, and anyone else who thinks you're a good man. The drive home was 23 minutes of pure terror. Every red light gave me more time to imagine Emma's face when she found out her dad was a liar. Every mile took me closer to the moment where I'd have to look my son in the eye and explain why our family was falling apart. Sarah's car was in the driveway. She was home early, probably to spend time with the kids before another client dinner. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, trying to find courage I'd never possessed. Emma came running out first, same as always, backpack bouncing. Daddy, guess what happened? At something in my face must have warned her off. Her smile faded. Okay, Daddy. I'm fine, sweetheart. Is Mom inside? She's making snacks for my sleepover tomorrow. Jenny and Madison are coming over and we're going to. That's great, Em. Can go tell Mom I need to talk to her. The next hour was the worst of I told Sarah everything. About the smart speaker messages. About Marcus. About following her. About suspecting her of having an affair. She listened in shocked silence, her face cycling through confusion, anger, and something that might have been relief. I've been spying on me for weeks, she said when I finished. I thought we're cheating. So decided to cheat first. There it was. The question I'd been dreading. What are talking about? Daniel, I work in tech. Do really think I don't know how to check our smart home logs? To think I can't see when someone's been accessing our system every day while I'm at work? My turn to ice. The messages been seeing aren't from Marcus to me. They're from Marcus to his wife. The same wife who hired a private investigator to follow both of us. The same wife who has photos of with some blonde woman at the Marriott downtown. The room started spinning. I've been getting them too, Sarah continued. Anonymous messages with photos of my husband sneaking around with another woman. I've been trying to figure out how to confront for 3 weeks. But the messages said what wanted them to say. Marcus and Rebecca are having problems. He's been venting to me about it because we're friends. Just friends. The same way we've been friends since college. She pulled out her phone and showed me her real message history with Marcus. Work stuff. Complaints about his marriage. Requests for advice about couples counseling. Nothing romantic. Nothing secret. Nothing that justified what I'd done. But the hotel meetings. Lunch meetings with our shared clients. In the hotel restaurant, which if asked instead of assumed. I was going to be sick. The night said bought it. After our talk about being distant, I went to Marcus's house to help him write a letter to Rebecca. To try to save his marriage. The same marriage been helping to destroy. Everything crashed into focus. Marcus wasn't Sarah's lover. He was her friend, struggling with his own marriage, turning to her for support. And I'd been so convinced of my own narrative that I'd ignored every piece of evidence that didn't fit. Sarah, I'm so sorry, I thought I was capable of destroying our family. So decided to destroy it. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. She was just looking at me like she'd never seen me before. Who is she? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. So I told her about Melissa. About Jake's bar. About feeling unwanted and unloved and about revenge that wasn't really revenge because there was nothing to avenge. How many times? 3. To love her. The question hit like a physical. No, God, no, I've only ever loved then why? And there it was. The question I'd been avoiding for months. Why had I thrown away 15 years of marriage and 2 beautiful children and I'd worked so hard to build? Because I was weak. Because I was selfish. Because when faced with the possibility that my wife might not love me anymore, I'd chosen to prove I didn't deserve her love. I don't know. I whispered. Sarah stood from the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals, where we'd helped our kids with homework, where we'd planned our future together. I need to leave. Sarah, please. We can work through this. We can get counseling. We can, Daniel. Her voice was steady, final. I need to pack a bag and leave tonight. What about the kids? What about them? How do we tell them? We don't. Do get to explain to Emma why Daddy won't be living here anymore. Get to tell Tommy why our family is broken. Get to live with watching their hearts break because couldn't handle thinking I might not love enough. She walked to the bottom of the stairs and called. Emma, Tommy, can come down here please. My children came downstairs in their pajamas. Faces bright and trusting, and I had to tell them that they believed about their family was a lie. Emma cried. Tommy got angry and asked if it was his fault. Sarah held them both while I packed a suitcase with shaking hands. Where are gonna live? Emma asked through her tears. I don't know yet, sweetheart, but I'll find somewhere close by. I'll still see me all the time. Another lie. Sarah's lawyer made sure of that. 2 weeks later I was served with divorce papers that included a restraining order. Sarah had told her attorney about the affair, about my unstable behavior during our separation, about my obsessive monitoring of our home systems. Melissa stopped returning my calls after the first week. Turns out she wasn't actually leaving her husband. She wasn't looking for a relationship. She was just looking for distraction, and I'd served my purpose. Jake won't talk to me anymore. Says I'm and he doesn't want that energy around his family. My parents know. Sarah's parents know. Everyone at work knows, the neighbors know. Emma's teacher knows because Emma's grade started slipping and she had to explain why. I get supervised visitation every other weekend. 2 4-hour blocks where I try to rebuild relationships with children who used to think I hung the moon and now know I'm just another who broke his promises. Last weekend, Tommy asked me why I'm mommy. I didn't have an answer. Emma won't hug me goodbye anymore. She's polite but distant, like I'm a stranger she's forced to spend time with. Sarah looks better than she has in years. She's lost weight, started working out, joined a book club. She looks like someone who's been released from prison. Marcus and Rebecca are in counseling. Apparently, they're working things out. Rebecca dropped the private investigator and they're focusing on communication and trust. Things I never learned how to do. I live in a studio apartment now, the kind of place live when I've lost everything that mattered. The walls are thin, the neighbors are loud, and every night I lie awake thinking about the family I destroyed over nothing, because that's what this was. Nothing. Sarah wasn't cheating. She wasn't lying. She wasn't betraying our family. I created a problem that didn't exist, then solved it in the worst possible way. I turned suspicion into certainty, loneliness into betrayal, and fear into the exact thing I was afraid of. People keep asking me if I regret it, if I could take it back, if I've learned from my mistakes. The truth is, regret is too small a word for what I feel. Regret is for spilling coffee or forgetting anniversaries. This is something bigger. Something that lives in bones and changes the way I breathe. I didn't just cheat on my wife. I cheated my children out of a stable home. I cheated out of the only real happiness I'd ever known. And for what? 2 hours of feeling wanted by someone who didn't actually want me. The smart speaker is still in Sarah's kitchen. Still connecting all our devices, still making easier for the family I'm no longer part of. Sometimes I wonder if it still chimes with notifications. If Sarah still gets messages from friends asking for advice. If my children still argue over what to watch on TV while she makes dinner. But I'll never know because I chose to be the kind of person who doesn't get to be part of moments like that anymore. They say the truth will set free, but they don't tell what it frees from. In my case, it freed me from everything worth having. The house is quiet now, but the damage I caused will echo in my children's hearts forever.